silent. So it's my humble request to all to rise as a token of respect. Mind isn't like a container meant to be stuffed with fat, but more like a flame that needs to be sparked and fueled with inspiration and ideas to grow and flourish. A very good afternoon to everyone. Mangalore University, Mangala Gangotri organizing late KSN Adiga Memorial Endowment Lecture on the topic of recent trends and development in the banking sector. Respected dignitaries and esteemed audience, I Ranjita from 2nd MCOM take this immense pleasure of wishing a hearty welcome to you all for this wonderful program. I kindly request Program Coordinator and faculties of Commerce Department to escort today's esteemed dignitaries onto the dais. Prayer is not asking, it is a longing of the soul. It is both an incredible expression of both mind and a gesture of surrender towards the divine. Now, I call upon Miss Sindhu and Miss Priya to lead us into prayer. Kindly rise. Thank you, Sindhu and Priya. May I request Mr. Sarthak T to welcome one and all present here.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. Honorable Vice Chancellor, Chief Guest, and all the dignitaries on and off the desk, I extend a warm greetings and a heartful welcome to all. Your presence is an honor and we are delighted to have you here. It's my pleasure to welcome the President of today's program, Professor P.L. Dharma Sir, Chancellor of Mangalore University. We feel privileged to have you as the President of this program. A heartful welcome to you, sir. Now, I request Professor Preeti Kirti D'Souza ma'am to welcome our Vice Chancellor with a sapling as a token of love. Resource person Shri Krishnan H, MD and CEO of Karnataka Bank, Mangalore. We are extremely honored to have you as a resource person. A warm welcome to you, sir. Ishwara P. sir to welcome our resource person with a sapling as a token of respect. It's an honor to welcome Professor Preeti Kirti D'Souza ma'am, Chairperson of Commerce Department. Heartily welcome to you, ma'am. I would like to extend my warm welcome to Professor Y. Muniraju sir, Chairperson of Department of Statistics, DOS Chairperson, Commerce Department. A warm welcome to you, sir. And also I would like to welcome Professor Parameshwara sir, DOE Chairperson, Department of Commerce. Heartily welcome to you, sir. I heartily welcome Professor Ishwara P. sir, Program Coordinator, Dean, Faculty in Commerce and Management. Welcome to you, sir. And I would like to extend my warmest welcome to Shri Madhava sir, PRO, Karnataka Bank. Welcome to you, sir. I would like to welcome all the participants, teaching and non-teaching staff, research scholars, media partners, and each and everyone who present here. Once again, welcome to you all.
A warm welcome to you too, Sarthak. A ray of light is a ray of hope. Let's all leave the darkness and step towards the bright path. Now we will have our traditional auspicious lamp lighting ceremony. I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor P.L. Dharma sir, along with all other dignitaries on the dais, to light the lamp and symbolically inaugurate this program.
तेरे सुप्त कण्ण ये विद्ये होन्न किरण दिन पाठ पठन गुरु बुद्धि वचन इदु विद्यादान ताण परेदागलेनि सिरि शिक्षण नम अंधकार दमन मंगळूरु विश्वविद्यानिलय मंगळूरु विश्वविद्यानिलय नमः ಜ್ಞಾನವೇ ಬೆಳಕು ಬೆಳಗೋಕೆ ಬದುಕು
I kindly request all the participants to occupy the front seats.
Commerce students are there? program. Can you come and occupy the front rows? Make it backside. We will wait for you. Please get up and come.
The last rows kindly come forward.
Get up and come.
There are 2-3 rows vacant in front. Do take your seats in front.
Now, I request Professor Ishwara P. Sir, Program Coordinator, Dean, Faculty of Commerce and Management, to give introduction about this program.
Honorable Vice Chancellor of our University, Professor P.L. Dharma Sir, distinguished Chief Guest and today's speaker, Sri Krishnan Sir, the Managing Director and Chief Executives of Karnataka Bank Limited, Sri Madhav Sir, the PRO of Karnataka Bank, Deans of various faculties, Chairperson of the Department of Commerce, Professor Preeti Kirti D'Souza Ma'am, Senior Professors in the Department of Commerce, Professor Y. Muniraj Sir, Professor Vedavati Sir, Professor Parameshwar Sir, and all the teaching and non-teaching staffs of our university, research scholars, media friends, and my dear student friends. Very good afternoon to you all. This is our third KSN Adigas Memorial Endowment Lecture organized by the Department of Commerce, Mangalore University. The KSN Adigas Memorial Endowment Lecture was launched on 12th June 2015 by former MD and CEO of Karnataka Bank, Sri P. Jairam Bhatt, and he handed over a check of rupees 5,000 to then Vice Chancellor of our Mangalore University.
Sir, 5 lakhs it is.
5 lakhs, yeah, 5 lakhs. Kakkunje Suryanarayan Adiga was born on 5th November 1914 in the village of Kakkunje in Udupi district. He was a lawyer by education and politician by profession. He was served as a member of the Mysore Legislative Council from 1966 to 1971. In 1945, Suryanarayan Adiga joined the board of Karnataka Bank as a director and he became part-time chairman in 1958. In 1971, he became full-time chairman and served till 1979. During his tenure as a chairman, the bank experienced unexpected growth with the results, and during that period, Karnataka Bank was popularly known as Adigas Bank. Adiga's contribution to society were not limited to the banking sector, but also extended social, educational, and civic sector. He was the president of the erstwhile Mangalore municipality and was responsible for creation of civic infrastructure including drinking water from Netravati river. The endowment lecture was launched in Mangalore University campus as fitting tribute to KSN Adiga, who was instrumental in setting up the postgraduate center at Conaje and also instrumental in the establishment of Mangalore University. Karnataka Bank Limited was incorporated on 18 February 1924 The founder chairman was D.R. Vajray Achar, and KSN Adiga was the second chairman of the bank. In 1960, under the chairmanship of the KSN Adiga, Karnataka Bank acquired three banks. One is Sharda Bank, Sringeri Sharda Bank in year 1960, in 1964 Chitradurga Bank, and 1966 Bank of Karnataka. Karnataka Bank is the first bank in India to reach the milestone of 100 years. The Karnataka Bank had initiated financial inclusion and priority sector lending much before the RBI made them mandatory. The Karnataka Bank has been doing CSR project before even it was made compulsory. Karnataka Bank is not just Karnataka's bank anymore now, it is a bank of the country. Karnataka Bank is India's one of the largest private sector bank. As a premier bank, Karnataka Bank has developed a comprehensive range of customized products and services suitable for every kind of market, business and personal. With over 10 decades of experience at the forefront of providing professional banking services and quality customer service, the bank has a national and international level presence with a network of more than 915 branches spread across 22 states and 2 union territories, more than 8,600 employees, and also bank is having about 2.5 lakh shareholders and over 13 million customers. The mission of the Karnataka Bank is to be a technologically savvy, customer-centric, progressive bank with a national presence, driven by the highest standards of corporate governance and guided by sound ethical values. Karnataka Bank is commercially viable and socially responsible bank. Trust, transparency and commitment to the highest standards of ethics and governance defines Karnataka Bank's ethos. The Karnataka Bank believes in total quality at all levels. It has deployed the most modern information technology to deliver products and services for customer benefits with an aim to develop an effective long-term relationship. Today with us the Managing Director and CEO of Karnataka Bank, Sri Krishnan Sir, to deliver KSN Adiga's endowment lecture on the topic, the recent trends and developments in the banking sector. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's time to listen to the words of resource person. Before that, I invite Ms. Anusha to introduce Mr. Sri Krishnan sir to the audience.
It's my immense pleasure to introduce today's chief guest, Mr. Sri Krishnan Harihara Sharma. Mr. Sri Krishnan Harihara Sharma has nearly 4 decades of experience in commercial, retail, transactional banking, technology and payments. He has previously held key positions at HDFC Bank Limited, S Bank Limited and Jio Payment Bank Limited. At HDFC Bank Limited, he was a part of founding management team and was involved in setting up bank's corporate and retail banking, treasury and capital market infrastructure business. Sri Krishnan, as an executive director and member of board, was instrumental in setting up commercial banking infrastructure at S Bank Limited. At Jio Payment Bank Limited, he served as a managing director and CEO was responsible for application and coordination for approval of license with RBI. He has worked extensively to build system and technology to support supply chain finance and provide digital banking platform to various banks in and outside India. Currently, Mr. Sri Krishnan Harihara Sharma has assumed charge as a Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Karnataka Bank on June 9, 2023. Once again, I extend a warm welcome on behalf of Mangalore University. Over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Professor Dharma, Vice Chancellor, illustrious professors on the dais, my colleagues, and the young leaders of tomorrow. It's such a pleasure to address all of you on this great occasion of Sri K.S. Adiga Memorial Lecture. As some of you have already known, the introductions were given very comprehensively, and thanks to all of you, including my own introduction, which was like very admirable, when I hear about it myself. So this is a journey, and I'm sure that most of you who are commerce students, I'm told, and you have a very, very illustrious career ahead of you. For those of you who have some hope in life, I must tell you this. I was a commerce student like each one of you way back in 1978 to 1980. I graduated in 1981 in Vivekananda College as a Bachelor of Commerce. And then of course I went on to do my management. So there's a lot of hope. Each one of you can become MD CEO of the bank. I think a lot has been already talked about as far as the endowment that has been given by Karnataka Bank. And a lot of introduction again as what I heard about Karnataka Bank. So I have actually got my job far more easier compared to what I would have otherwise had to introduce Karnataka Bank. But just a few points which are very unique to Karnataka Bank. 22 years before Karnataka state was formed, this bank was actually called Karnataka Bank. That is a very, very true reflection of the vision that the founders had, one. The second is that very recently, which was February 18, we had celebrated the centenary year, and it was a huge function in Mangalore and of course across all the major towns and major cities in India, where we celebrated our centenary year through the year with our own customers. It is also very unique for all of you to know that the 100 years, which we will end now in March, the financial year, every one of the 100 years, this bank has made net profits. It is also unique that you should know that 97, which will include this year also, 97 out of the 99, out of the 100 years, the bank has actually declared dividends to its stakeholders. So what it means is that this is a very well run bank, very well organized, very well managed, but yet profitable, serving customers across different customer segments, every strata of the society, as it was founded primarily to help agriculture, small businesses, trade finance, and then over a period of time graduated to what we call nowadays as the universal bank. So as far as the lecture is concerned, just a very, very quick word about Sri K.S. Adiga. Sri K.S. Adiga, to put it in a nutshell, had a very long, distinguished career in the bank and was a source of inspiration for all those who have worked with Sri Adiga. In fact, for his commitments of sound principles and all policies, he was actually known as the doyen of the bank. If that kind of gives you any introduction about the name that has been chosen, and you will need to necessarily follow such footsteps, and those are very, very big shoes to fill. Now, getting into the meat of today. As far as whatever that we want to talk about, let it be a very freewheeling speech. I did not really prepare for a speech, but on the other side, I actually like a little bit of extempore speech, because that is when the thoughts also very freely flow. It is very important for us to know that banks have been established over 125 years in this country. And banking, as they say, is the oldest business in the world. Now, what is banking business? Banking business is primarily taking a lot of deposits, lending it to the needy, to make sure that those who need funds for their respective financial requirements are lent money, and the money that is made out of such lending is actually paid back to the depositors as interest. So there is a difference, and that is what we normally call in our banking parlance called net interest margin, NIM as it is normally called. I am sure that in any of your academics you will come across this. But banking is not as simple as that. banking has become more and more complex because just lending money from the deposit that you are you're accruing is not something that is going to take you for long. So banking has become complex, banking has become very competitive, and more importantly, there is also many of the banks which are offering similar products. So then you will need to look at why should a customer choose a Karnataka bank or a bank A or a bank B compared to any other bank. So obviously there are some differentiators that each one of us need to bring. Now one of the key things, and this is what I'm going to spend the next about at least half an hour or so talking about this, is one, how does this happen? Two, what are the value adds? Three, where does technology play a role? Four, what is the future as far as the bank is concerned? Now, the last part is the last 100 years how it was, and if you look at Karnataka Bank, what the next 100 years is going to be. We have to prepare ourselves. So like how you're all getting into the basics in academia, whereby you are starting off on the sound principles in terms of theoretical knowledge. But then thereafter, you get on into a role which is more practical in approach. Through various case studies that you have learned and actual on-the-job training, you become specialist. When you become specialist, then you choose an area of specialization that is to your liking, because today's world offers a lot of options, opportunities as far as each one of you is concerned. So when you start off with a base, it is not necessarily you continue the same base, but you actually start broad basing. What do you mean by broad basing? Broad basing yourself into the general principles of management, into not only the area of specialization that you have chosen, but also to become general management. So this is the ladders that you need to climb. But in every climb, there is learning. Learning never stops. Even today, I keep learning. I keep learning, and as long as there is a day where there is learning, then I'm progressing. If the day that you stop learning, then you're not progressing. So please understand that learning is not necessarily academia. You can actually learn multiple things in multiple ways, in multiple forums and in multiple environments. So this is a broad theme that I want to apply. One of the mega trends that is happening today is democratization of banking. What do you mean by democratization of banking? If you really look through that, what was earlier, there were three concepts as far as banking was concerned in India. One was, there was a public sector bank, which is one category. Then there were the old generation private sector banks, and then there were the foreign banks. These are only the three categories of banking. Now, the foreign banks, which had very limited branches, but had excellent access to technology, because Western world banks, Eastern world banks, some of them who came into India, they all implemented whatever technology was already there in a very advanced stage as far as those countries were concerned compared to India. This is pre-independence, post-independence, this was happening. But sooner than later, now this entire gap got narrowed down. So we had the public sector banks which had all the branches in terms of network, and foreign banks, MNC banks, did not have the network. So if you really look through the foreign banks in the country today, now they have very limited branches. They have 4 branches, 8 branches, at best a couple of 100 branches. Whereas the nationalized banks or the PSU bank had tens of thousands of branches per bank, which means that they went deep interior, they went into rural India and started serving people. But then serving people was all not necessarily technology oriented. Over a period of time, the private sector banks came in, and private sector banks, the new generation, which by way of new licenses which were given in the mid-90s, out of that I was also part of the involvement there, where I was part of launching 3 different banks. This is the entrepreneurship that I was part of. When we did this, we were filling up a gap. The gap was essentially where if public sector banks had the network of branches, the MNC banks had all the technology, then here is a set of private sector banks who are coming in, who will have access to the network because there is no limitation in terms of number of branch expansions, but also the technology, because by then India had progressed. How did they progress? Fundamentally, India has progressed through data. In the last about 10 to 15 years, ever since a large part of it was dominated by Jio, continues to be also, and other service providers, you have now data in your pocket. All of you are looking at your small 5-inch or at best 5.5-inch screen, and you say that you have access to the rest of the world. You have the access through data to access the best of information in the world, all search engines availability, everything related to retail e-commerce, everything related to healthcare, everything related to education, and of course, banking and financial services is no exemption here. So if this is not an exception, then the fact that you have information available readily in your pocket through data at any point of time, so which meant that banking and financial services actually got democratized. Banking and financial services, which hitherto was only relevant to sophisticated set of people in the metros, in probably the mini metros, the T2 towns, etc., started going to T3, T4, T5 and even some of the T6 locations, because mobile proliferation that happened went across to everywhere. As long as there was a mobile, recently I was on a trip to very corner place in north of India. I was so surprised that the CRPF Jawans who were there in the border, actually, they were watching live TV, live cricket, scores, and they were getting access to live films and music. Now, when live films, live TV, live cricket matches, scores, etc., they have been given access to. And please remember, nobody taught them how to do this. This they learned it on their own. So the fact that there is no training required, the fact that there is no restriction in terms of access, then banking financial services obviously falls under the same category, where there is no necessary for any restriction. So today, sophisticated banking offerings are available to every strata of society, because all banks have followed the telecom model, where every one of us are following the telcos and making sure that wherever they have provided data, we are also present. So it is not necessary that banking is the only business that is following, but it is also financial services that include investment, mutual funds, everything related to the insurance part, which is protection, and also other exotic financial services products such as equity trading, debt market trading. Every one of these have got democratized and available to you in that small piece of instrument with a 5 or a 5.5-inch screen. So this is actually possible because of the super fast internet which is available, the access. Now for this, a lot of work had to be done in the back end of banks. Now this is a big development because one, the banks had to access a common database, which meant that if you have about 150, 200 students here, all of your relationship, which is in the form of your customer identity, everything related to your transactions, everything related to your balances are available in a central repository, but which has to be again sufficiently guarded, because we cannot have a customer A to know about the balances of customer B, because this is not allowed under the Banking Regulations Act. So within the regulatory framework, there was obviously an opportunity for us to centralize, which is done through what is called a core banking solution. And through the core banking solution and providing an access for customers whenever they want, that is anytime, wherever you want, anywhere, and whatever that you want, whatever. So anytime, anywhere, whatever was offered to you, and all of this is technology driven. So this is where it creates better user experience and making sure that the delivery of services and offerings of products is available to you real time. When I say real time is instantaneous gratification at any point of time. There is no delay. By the time that you actually press the return button or any particular OK button on the phone, whichever app, whatever offers you, the same time the back-end systems and across all channels. For instance, when you are transacting in a bank branch, or when you are transacting in an internet banking or a mobile banking or in an ATM, it is a common balance amount, common database which it is accessing. So as a result, if you transact, which is a withdrawal in an ATM, your balance gets immediately debited. Likewise, if you are crediting something in a branch, your balance gets immediately credited real time. So real time data, making sure that the real-time computing and making sure that you are able to access from multiple channels is what has happened in the overall democratization of banking principles. The transformation which has happened in the last about 10-15 years or perhaps even let's say 2 decades or so now is resulted in obviously a lot of focus in terms of customer engagement and customer experiences. Because if you look through, ask yourself this question, ask your parent this question, ask your grandparent this question. If you ask your grandparent this question, how many times in a month would you go to the bank branch? Now the numbers was always very high for that generation. If you ask your parents, it has come down. If you ask yourself and your peer group, it is actually, I can't even remember when I went to a bank branch the last time. Other than opening an account, thereafter, most of whatever requirement that you have are actually catered to outside of a bank branch. What does this mean? Actually, we have brought the bank to where you are. That is what I meant earlier when I said that anywhere, anytime. But this is not necessarily for your withdrawal of cash or simple transactions. It is also for complex transactions which include investing into the equity market, making sure that your demat account transfer from one to the other is done, investing surplus money which are lying from a liquidity part into your liquid mutual funds. So there are many complex products which have been offered right now, but all under one app, all under one bank, all under one roof. What it means is that there are not necessarily products which are manufactured by a bank alone that is offered to you. It is actually a collaborative method which is used where we get other products which are manufactured by other institutions, financial institutions such as mutual funds, and not necessarily one. We provide the choice to customers. As a result, there are multiple choices. In your examination, you have multiple choice questions. Similarly, you have multiple choices which are actually offered to you to say that for this particular investment proposition, I can select mutual fund 1. For this other, which is my short-term liquidity, I am able to select mutual fund number 2. I don't want a name because here is not the opportunity to kind of make the names compete with each other. But the customer today has a choice. You all have a choice. As a result, what happens is that there is something which is called embedded banking, embedded financial services, which are made available to you through data, through your mobile, through your internet browser, also offered in the branch, just in case that you like to get those services and avail of the services in the branch. But then these are available not necessarily to the platforms which are banking platforms, but also non-financial platforms. So today, if you go to Amazon, right? Amazon is a marketplace where you buy products and there are sellers who are actually listing their products. But if you want to pay, there is Amazon Pay. Now Amazon Pay is a banking product at the end of the day. Hitherto it was not offered earlier in a marketplace. But today Amazon Pay, which is actually a bank, is actually sitting in an Amazon app. So it is offered to non-financial platforms also. But it leads to a lot of questions to say that am I secure? Are we sure that this is being offered in a very, very controlled environment and making sure that I will not lose money? Now this is a challenge because it is called, as you open up, as you are actually exposing all of your technologies to other non-financial institutions, there is a risk that you run. So banks are not in the traditional business of just taking deposits and lending. We are in the business of risk management. We actually identify the risks that are involved in every action which is a financial activity. What are the steps that we need to take to mitigate those risks? What are the risks that as a bank that we can take to the framework within the regulation that is allowed? Also, making sure that we do not expose your funds, because banking is all about trust. You have trusted us with your funds, which means that we have to make sure that your trust is upheld, and also making sure that your customer protection, your risk protection is also ensured by the bank. So this is what we call it as making sure that all of whatever we do has to be in a very secured environment compared to most of whatever other non-financial services or digital services or normal trading services are happening. Because if you look through a comparison between a banking and a non-banking entity, if you take any of the retail traders who are there, at best they have some risk which is pilferage. There is some risk in terms of making sure that you're not getting value for your money, because there are certain ways where they can manipulate, but as long as you are making sure that there is a transparency, it is possible. But here it is trust, it is transparency, and also to make sure that you are actually secure. This is a very important element of banking. Over a period of time, there are ecosystems that have got developed. And all of you are aware about ecosystems in India that have grown. I will particularly be relevant to India compared to the rest of the world, because I think our Indian example is far too superior to even some of the worst, Western world and other parts of the world. Why? I'll tell you. In the earlier days, technology and everything was only available in the Western world. Today, far superior technology is available in India at a much cheaper cost, which is why a Bangalore, a Mangaluru, or any of those locations have been identified by tech majors. All the big majors from the world are all having their offices, facilities, engineering centers, service centers in India, and which is no wonder that we are called the Silicon Valley of, in Bangalore. Now, look at it this way, it is not necessarily Bangalore. Started in Bangalore, but we now have Hyderabad, we have Mumbai, we have Gurgaon, we have Calcutta, we have Odisha, we have, so many facilities. Very recently, when I went to Hubli, I found that, Infosys has got one of the best, large kind of facilities in Hubli. So it is obvious that, it is no exception, any city it is possible. So the ecosystem banking in India, if you look through, started off with something called the India Stack. Now the India Stack, when it was defined, you are all aware about this, which is the JAM. It's called the JAM stock. Now what is the JAM Stack? Basically Jan Dhan, which is democratization of banking to make sure that every Indian in the country, through a particular identity, would be able to open a banking account. It was started none other than by our Honorable Prime Minister, and it was called the Prime Minister's Jan Dhan Yojana. Now the PMJDY accounts were basically democratizing banking, but also for a fact that when the government distributed the subsidies, it was through an identity which was Aadhaar. That is the second word in the JAM, which stands for Aadhaar. So JAM, basically Jan Dhan, Aadhaar. The third one, M, stands for mobile. So this is the three principles and the three stacks that the government built, called the JAM stack. Over a period of time, products were built in and around this JAM stack, using it. So today in the ecosystem in India, which has not happened anywhere in the world, a unique identity, which is your Aadhaar number, is linked to another unique identity, which is your PAN number, which is basically having all the data related to your income and the taxes that you are paying. And also it is uniquely linked to a bank account. So which means that triangulating the three, which is Aadhaar, PAN and your bank account, are linked. As a result, there were products that were built around that. That's how UPI happened. UPI today, which stands for Unified Payment Interface, which all of you are aware, you use it on a daily, hourly basis wherever you go. Now, obviously, there were applications which were built. UPI is perhaps one of the most unique developments. It has not happened anywhere else in the world. It has happened only in India. And all banks have to necessarily participate in the UPI interfaces. When I say this, it is not UPI, because UPI interface was a backend. It was a backbone. But how do you create use cases? Which is, how do you create use cases for your day-to-day requirements through UPI? This is when paying through a QR code, paying through the mobile, paying through retail e-commerce, paying through websites, paying through Amazon, all of this started happening. So far, where it was a 5-leg transaction of a seller, a buyer, intermediaries, etc., happened on real-time basis. When I say real-time basis, the democratization of banking has helped us to move so fast and so forward that everything is digitally done, everything is digitally fulfilled, including the ecosystem participants who are there, and not necessarily financial participants, but also logistics participants for delivery of goods, the marketplace participants for making sure that the matching of supply and demand also happens. Last but not the least is to do the settlements of money. So obviously when the trader is selling, he has to get the money from the buyer. But the buyer, you pay someone else, and that someone else pays, in this case is Amazon as an example. There are Indian examples also, but I'm just trying to expand on the same example that I started, where in the background there are various intermediaries, but the ultimate beneficiary, who has got to be the seller, get instantaneous credit, which is real-time credits. So this is where I think the ecosystem banking, making sure that all of the banks, all of the financial services participants, all of the financial services intermediaries, all of the ecosystem participants, all of them come into one big, larger digital umbrella. And that is again aided through this data which is done by the service providers, because they have actually created bandwidth. That is like a super highway. In the super highway, today there are retail e-commerce products, there are financial services products, there are healthcare products, there are education products. Every one of this is like hopping. Now every one of them, when they get into the financial super highway, what also happens is that when you are traveling on a toll road, each one of the cars that are passing through the toll pay a toll tax. That is exactly what we all do, which is as users, as service providers, as banks, everyone pays a toll fee, which is very minimal, very insignificant, but you get access to the financial super highway, as well as making sure that in the process you are not only availing of financial services benefit, you are actually getting a lot of non-financial services benefits in this entire super way. Now this leads to, obviously, other things that banks have to be very secure about. We are a legacy bank. We are a 100-year-old bank. Now obviously the systems, processes, making sure whatever that we had done in the back end 100 years ago is no longer valid. Whatever we do today is no longer valid for the next decade, because technology keeps on changing. Which means that we need to invest into architecture that is very flexible for scalability, for reliability, and for future change as and when we have to change. So this is the trick of the whole thing. So investments need to be made on a continuous basis, but also to make sure that you're flexible enough to catch up, not only catch up, actually be better than the best as far as the whole technology infrastructure is concerned. So there is three parts as far as technology in banking is concerned. One is basic products, the second is basic infrastructure, which is telecom, network and computing power. The third is the flexibility and reliability, security, to make sure that all the three aspects are covered. So it is not easy just to kind of provide a technology or a digital interface. As a result, what happens is that tech spends, which is basically the spending and the expenditure that is there on technology, keeps on increasing as far as the bank is concerned. But on the other side, the banks have to derive the benefit out of those investments in technology by making sure the adoption as far as customers are concerned are actually into this digital products, to make sure that your physical infrastructure is actually lesser and lesser used compared to your digital infrastructure. But are we ready today as a country, as banks in India, to be completely digital and say that I will not have any bank branches, I will only offer you digital banking? Is that possible? No. So we adopt a mid path. This mid path is called phygital, which is basically physical as well as digital. The common terminology which is used here is called phygital. So phygital is the way that most countries, and including India, which is in the forefront, actually leading the way for this. Now as far as the whole customer segments are concerned, in our bank we call it as a RAM segment, RAM. RAM stands for multiple terminologies in multiple businesses. But as far as Karnataka Bank is concerned, retail, agri, which is rural, and middle market, which is called MSME and the SME. This is the RAM segment as far as the bank is concerned. We are a bank who started funding traders, funding agriculturalists. It was a bunch of founder directors who had got together, including agriculturists, lawyers, and statesmen who were all in multiple, fields. They came in and we're carrying on the same legacy. So we serve more than 2/3 of our business today comes from this RAM segment, which is retail, agri, middle market. Now the larger corporates have access to sophisticated banking. There are much larger banks in the country, but we are very proud that we are from Karnataka. We are serving for the people of Karnataka, and we will uphold the name of Karnataka all along in the country and globally. So with this in mind, we have repositioned our brand as part of the centenary year to say that we are no longer Karnataka Bank. We are saying that Aapka Karnataka Bank is now Bharat Ka Karnataka Bank. What it means is that today we are no longer Karnataka Bank. We are present in 22 states and 2 union territories, as Mr. Ishwara was saying. Now, what we want to do is to make sure that whatever good that we are doing in Karnataka, we want to do it in the other states as well. So this is where we are heading as a bank, and in terms of where we want to go and making sure that we are in the process of making ourselves as a national private sector bank. For doing any of this, it is important that we keep on increasing the raw material as far as the bank is concerned to facilitate growth. What is the raw material as far as the bank is concerned? The raw material for the bank goes without saying that it is money. So which means that we have to keep on raising money, which is capital. So we'll have to ensure that there are prudential norms, which all of you will study, whereby something called a capital adequacy ratio, and then there's something which is related to making sure that you do not go below a particular level as far as the overall banking regulations and the compliance and the regulatory framework is concerned. So we need to maintain certain ratios at a particular level and above at any point of time. So as we grow our book, the advances book, as we grow our overall lending and the opportunities, we need to make sure that we are staying above the prudential norms or those ratios or the metrics that we measure and required regulatorily. So we keep on raising money. With this in mind, in the last 9 months or so, this bank, we at Karnataka Bank, have raised over 100,500 crores. Now this is a continuous affair. It is not something which happens once in a while. It has to be done as long as you want to facilitate your growth. Where are we heading now? I think in the interest of time, I need to also tell you that let's reflect a little bit in terms of the journey so far and the journey ahead. It is very important for us to know that also. Now, it is very clearly reflected. Each of you, I would strongly urge that you visit our head office in Mahavira Circle in Mangalore, where as part of the centenary year, we launched a centenary building befitting the founders, the founder directors, and this is a complete dedication to the founder directors. But in the centenary building, we have a museum which you should go through. A museum which has collected a lot of records right from the first memorandum articles of association of Karnataka Bank in 1924, 100 years ago, and various documents like our first balance sheet and various pictures, documents from our archive, etc., which reflect the journey from 1924 to 2024. Now that is actually, it's the history, it's of the past. How does it matter? So we have done all this in the last 100 years. But if I look through now, if we really want to look at what is in store for the next 100 years, in the next 100 years is what we have depicted by creating what is called a digital experience center in the same building, where we have actually showcased how banking products are going to look like as you go forward, because there are various terms in technology that you are all very, very familiar, because all of you are youngsters. You are all on social media, you are all very familiar with all this. But if you look through, you would have heard terms such as AR, augmented reality, VR, virtual reality. Now, how do this AI and the ML principles, etc., come into banking? we have showcased each one of them to say that how the world is changing with the AR, VR interface to banking, where you will get a simulation of a bank branch sitting in your drawing room, living room, and making sure that you are actually putting on your VR headset, and you will be able to talk. With the blink of your eyelid, you will be able to select transactions and making sure that you are actually executing transactions, but with a virtual assistant who is actually talking to you in real time. And mind you, believe you, it is not a physical person who is at the other end. It is a machine which is talking. So that is the ML part of it. Now we have actually showcased this. We have not released all those products. These are all capabilities which are coming up in the country. We need to make sure that all these capabilities that we are talking about, we need to convert them into use cases. We need to convert them all into user benefits, making sure that these are productized, which meant that you have to convert them into products, offer them in the market, but still adoption lies with each one of you. Because if it is not convenient for you, you will not adopt each one of them. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. So what happens is that if you look through the opportunity that we are sitting on, technology is taking us far, far ahead. We as a bank or banking as a whole needs to take on whatever is absolutely required in the interest of customer service, in the interest of trust, in the interest of service excellence, in the interest of customer protection, making sure that whatever is the need of the customer is being filled up. Excuse me. So what happens is that opportunity that is coming up, you no longer are very excited about ATM, because any bank, if it is not having an ATM, you look upon that bank as that, what, this bank does not even offer an ATM. ATM has become part of life, right? So you will have to go that extra mile to find out what is in it when it comes to digital or transformation and technology, which is really the next level, next wave of growth. Where it is coming through is that if you look through each segment, which is including the three segments that I talked about, retail, agri and mid-market, each one of them have got specialized requirement. What is applicable to retail is not applicable in MSME. What is applicable in MSME is not applicable to agri. So each one of us need to kind of create that specialization based on the needs, based on the life cycle, based on the engagement model, based on whether they are borrowing customers or deposit customers, making sure that we productize each one of them, but offer it under one roof. And which is that roof? It is no longer a bank branch. It is actually the app. Which means that we need to have SME app, we need to have agri app, we need to have retail app, we need to have UPI app, etc. It is not practical, because how much will we inconvenience a customer to go to 4 different apps if they have 4 different requirements? So this concept is changed now, which is coming into what is called the super app. A super app basically offers you financial services, non-financial services, everything to do with shopping, e-commerce, telecom, and so on and so forth. Every one of us is striving to become a super app in the whole concept. It is not that who is building it better and who will win. In fact, everyone will come across common platforms, we'll start sharing, and we'll make sure that each one of us are present in the other super apps also. It is the customer's choice that will win finally. Who will win? The customer. The customer will win, whereby they are able to do this. The second thing, which is a second wave which is happening now, is something which is a term which you will come across very often, called hyper-personalization. What happens is that if there is a student A and a student B, the two requirements are very different, right? How do we know that based on your behavior, what we offer to student A and need not really offer to student B? Now, it is called hyper-personalization because based on your behavior, the offers are made. Which means that today if you look through a Facebook, Instagram or any of them, now normally you would have heard about the term that they can hear you. It is a fact that they are hearing you, but not physically hearing you or what you talk, but what you do. So in your Instagram, if you are actually accessing certain sites, they have, which is called a AI-based behavioral model, which they create to say that they categorize you to say that are you more into entertainment, are you more into movies, are you more into whatever, and start throwing those prompts to you every now and then. This is done by machines, and banking is no exception as we go forward. We will offer you the right product at the right time to the right person. This is exactly what is hyper-personalization. So as I mentioned earlier, AI, ML, super app, all of this is really the way going forward. Last topic from my side today. All of you are used to digital payments already, but you are not yet used to digital currencies. So today, all of you have the same one wallet which is there, and you have a Gandhi currency inside. Right? Now, the Gandhi currency is the official currency of our country. Likewise, each country has got their own currencies. But the payments that you do, you're trading with the same currency. You're not exchanging the currency, but from a bank account A to a bank account B, you're transacting digitally by not exchanging the Gandhi currency. Whereas, there's a clear difference between a digital payment where you're using a Gandhi currency, but introducing what is called a digital currency. This is the way the world is going. This is what you would have heard about some terms called CBDC, which is basically central bank digital currency. So the central bank of the country, in our country it is RBI, in England is Bank of England, likewise the Fed in US, all of these central banks who are regulatory authorities are wanting to introduce with requisite controls the CBDC, which is central bank digital currency. This is something which is a big wave where it is happening. So believe you me, this is not parallel in terms of parallel economy that you would have normally heard. Parallel economy is banking system and the cash system, which is black money system. That is not what we are talking about. Here we are talking about officially introducing a parallel currency system in the country, which will be regulated. So which means that like how central bank today controls the flow, the printing of notes, minting of coins to a limit which is based on the overall fiscal situation of the country. That is how economics, I'm sure all of you are studying economics and you will be very used to all this M1, M2, M3 and whatever. Now each one of that is reality because central bank monitors. But within those monitorable limits, the digital currency will also come through. This is the next wave which the banking system is waiting forward to. It has got its own risks, but there are ways to mitigate risks. There are risk management systems, there are very clear monitoring systems, we'll have to put vigilance systems and making sure that the digital currency, that system and the physical currency system also become interoperable. When you say interoperable, that on one leg or one side of the transaction could be a physical currency, the other leg of the transaction could be a digital currency. But then we need to make sure, all of your account students, reconciliation. So in reconciliation, what happens that you have to reconcile the physical part as well as the digital part. But both of it have to be done digitally. It has to be done real time. So which means that there is no time that you have in terms of the computing delay, response time and so on. In the split of a second, it has to happen. Split of a nanosecond, no, not even a second, because nobody wants to wait for a second nowadays, right? This is all nanoseconds. So on that note, all that I wanted to introduce today is that banking, financial services, offering services under one umbrella, not necessarily products manufactured by you, but actually through a very collaborative method, making sure that all those products are available to you digitally, and making sure that there are ways to go forward as we are actually embracing technology when we are delivering more and more products. All the products will be based on use cases. All the products will be based on what the user requirements are, which in this case happens to be you. All of you are budding youngsters. All of you are commerce students studying economics, accounting and the background. So work on all these things, making sure that some of you could become entrepreneurs, some of you can become bankers, some of them could become economists and so on and so forth. The world is widely open. Some of you can become lawyers using all these basics that are being taught by this illustrious set of professors and this Mangalore University faculty. But on the other side, remember very, very key basic things. My father was a teacher. My father was a Sanskrit scholar. And he was not studying commerce. But what he has told me is that very clear, integrity, maintain this. Don't fear failure, making sure that whatever that you want to do, if you have the conviction, go ahead and do that. Do not fear if you are not doing anything wrong. As long as you are doing anything wrong, then the guilt comes to you. If you are not doing anything wrong, don't fear, which means that you can take risks, you can go ahead and venture out yourself. Last but not the least, learn, continuously learn, because money will follow. Don't work for money, work for the learning and work for the principles. Learning and development is very important. If you are learning and developing yourself individually as a core person, together as a team person, making sure that you are delivering an organizational objective or an entrepreneurial objective very clearly, if you are staying focused, money in the form of wealth, salary, other things will follow, assets will follow. So do not chase money, chase learning. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your expertise and valuable insights with us. Now it's time for presidential address. Before that, may I invite Ms. Pavitra to introduce our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor P.L. Dharma, sir, to all.
It's an honor to introduce President of today's program, Professor P.L. Dharma, sir. Professor P.L. Dharma, Vice Chancellor, Mangalore University, Mangala Gangotri. He has obtained his master's degree in political science from Mangalore University with first rank and obtained PhD degree from Karnataka University. He has total 34 years of teaching experience in Department of Political Science, Mangalore University, Mangala Gangotri. He has 23 years of research experience, published 33 research papers and delivered more than 150 invited lectures. He has been invited as resource person in 10 international seminars and in 73 national seminars. He worked as examiner for PhD evaluation and evaluated 69 theses. Under his guidance, 8 PhD scholars were successfully completed their PhD degree and currently 8 PhD scholars pursuing their PhD. Along with teaching, he also has administrative experience. He worked as Registrar Evaluation, Mangalore University from March 2020 to February 2023, Registrar Administration in charge, Mangalore University, Dean Faculty of Arts, Mangalore University, Chairman, Department of Political Science, Mangalore University for 21 years, Chairman in charge, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, Mangalore University for 2 years, Director, PG Center, JK Campus, Chikka Alvara for 1 year, Director, Student Welfare, Mangalore University for 3 years, Chairman, Committee to Monitor, PG Center, Chikka Alvara, Mangalore University, Chief Coordinator, Anti-Ragging Committee, Mangalore University for 2 years, Director, Gandhian Studies Center, Director, Buddhist Studies Center for 10 years, Chief Coordinator, UGC Sponsored Training and Coaching Center, Mangalore University for 10 years, Nodal Officer, Online Students Grievance Redressal Mechanism, Mangalore University, and worked as Director, College Development Council, Mangalore University. He also participated and contributed in relevant areas of higher education, has working experience in Public Service Commission as examiner, served in various academic and administrative bodies under Mangalore University, has administrative and academic experience in other universities. He also involved in NGO activities to restore peace and happiness in Dakshina Kannada. He is awarded with Most Innovative Education Leadership Award Arts by Golden AIM Awards for Excellence and Leadership in Education 2020. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir. Over to you, sir.
My dear young friends,
திரு ஸ்ரீகிருஷ்ணா அவர்களே, my dear colleagues on the dais, young friends and special invitees. After listening to Sri Krishnan, MD, CEO, Karnataka Bank, Bangalore, I thought first time a banker, can I call you a banker, sir? A banker speaks on all ethical lines and at the end advises you to be more ethical rather than anything else. This is first time MD Saab, I have heard a lecture where a banker who has seen world, who has established branches across the world and planning to be a World Bank operator, not Karnataka's bank, India's bank and world's bank. He's speaking of ethics. What a wonderful endowment lecture in memory of K.S.N. Adiga. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, sir. And I am indeed very grateful to you for the topic that you have chosen to speak to our youngsters today. I'm not a banker. I'm not also a commerce student. Neither have studied commerce, except that I am one of those persons, like any ordinary man and woman here, who have borrowed money from bank and lived throughout the life as a borrower, and never being an independent on the toe in terms of spending, in terms of earning, because this is how the large number of people in India, at least 60% of people in India have lived with bank. May not be a big, contributors as far as deposits are concerned. I don't think that we have deposited any money in banks so that he would say the main material to bank is the money. If deposits or whatever that you say in terms of the contributions of the customers. I've been a borrower. Let me say a small story since you have started with ethics. I think it's something very important, dear to all of us. Every once in a year, our local papers, MD Saab, you have come now. I think our PRO Saab has been here. He sounds to be Mangalorean, and therefore I know every once in a year, all the local papers brings a wonderful news with colorful. Entire page is covered. Karnataka Bank's profit is this, and it is on the profit. And the state bank's list of profits. Every time we say, bank has earned so much of money, so much of balance, expenditure, and then the profit. I feel so happy. How come these banks have been doing wonderful in terms of the data figures? Almost for the last 37 years I'm here, I've never seen a bank saying, look, this time you're doing very bad. No. But I've been carefully watching it. At one point of time, my young friends, you see the banks have been doing well. At the same time, the other sector, where we have been, an ordinary person like you, I believe your parents also, are absolutely depending upon banks so much. Every next year, at least in my area, I come from Kodagu, every next year, every agriculturist, he is depending upon so much, financial institutions, particularly bank. The borrowings over the years in India has been very high. The banks have been sometimes very generous. Saab has spoken about the democratization of banks in his own style, because as a banker only can speak that way. But for me, democratization bank has been a very different story altogether. If democracy is seen in its literary sense. All the agriculturists have been really suffering over the years. They have been, in trouble for the larger number of years. And lots of confiscations have taken place. I'm not charging the bank. I'm talking to my young friends who have seen the world of bank, which is growing, very colorful, romantic. But you need to be seeing the other side also. And therefore, carefully choose topics, carefully choose projects, so that you touch the heart of the people. Don't have to be all the time speak the language of the prophet and take the projects of the banks who've been doing well, and every time go and do the project, and where you bring smile on the bankers. Try to see that how an ordinary man like me, and then you, and then your parents, can also be, smiling at the end of the financial year without borrowing. Can we imagine in India at some point of time where we don't borrow and then live independently? No. Have you ever thought that you need to prepare a project for your village so that your own kids and kins never go to bank and then borrow money? You never. And you ever. You have never thought our own ideal economic banks like self-help group, where even self-help groups also have been financed by the banks. But can you build something like a cooperative by yourself? Please, my dear young friends, there are any number of challenges to bank, I know for sure. All the banks have spoken their language. But we need to also have an alternative thinking. And that's why the state universities like us is struggling to see that our commerce graduates are trained to be an alternative thinkers, not to be same stereotype styles as well. We have had Gandhi with us. We've had also Vinoba Bhave with us. And we do have larger number of people who have worked in cooperatives, so that at least at the end of the day, we die without loan. We die without borrowings. Please, my dear friends, let them survive. And because of them, we are all surviving here. Even the public institutions are surviving, borrowing from the banks today. I know for sure. Without LSE, I don't think that things would have been better here in the universities as well, in its routine activities. You need to think. Otherwise, all your exercise in education institutions, higher education institutions, will be seen as something very, very futile. Vibrant lectures are being organized in the name of KSN Adiga, where you are not just given a lecture by experts like this. You are touched with certain emotions so that you become useful to all of us. You become an alternative thinker for all of us. Have you ever thought of those small chota-mota, workers on the campus? There are sweepers, there are gardeners living with small money, and that do not very often be paid there. Do you know how the economics is managed in their house? You don't, seldom concentrate on them, because you have been all the time concentrated with larger number of banks, multinational corporations, and those banks, because you need to start meaningfully. That is what ethics or MD Sub said. Don't chase money. Look at the way how a small employee in your own department, she cleans everything to you and make tidy, and then you go and then sit and listen to the class. Have you ever seen how she is managing the life? Have you prepared a project to your professor saying that how women on the campus doing chota-mota job are living their life? You don't open your eyes. You don't even give your best good ear to them to listen to their concerns. We want, as you study in the private public institutions, we want you to concentrate on all these issues. Otherwise, what is the meaning of talking about ethics today? My dear young friends, this is first time, in fact, MD Sahab made me more emotional with all those last words that you spoke, sir. What a wonderful words they are. And this is where exactly the business meets with ethics. The big tycoons, speaks about ethical issues. Though he spoke about all the revolutions that have taken place, democratic revolutions that have taken place, he has also given you cautions as to how you need to be careful. At the same time, he sounded that you need to be a little careful as far as those values are concerned. Without their values, mentioned about his father, a Sanskrit scholar. He is what today is because of his father's advice. You need to be, my dear young friends, you are the one, you have a large number of energy. energy is filled with you. I could see the way the youngsters come and then speak here, introducing the guest, the MC, the anchor. What a wonderful energy that you have. Make use of this energy so that you also develop an alternative system with us. ಬಹಳ ಮುಖ್ಯವಾದ ವಿಷಯ ಇದು. ನೀವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಇದನ್ನ ಗಮನಿಸ್ತೀರಿ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಅಧ್ಯಾಪಕ ಮಿತ್ರರಿದ್ದಾರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಅವರವರ ಕಾರ್ಯವನ್ನು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮಂತ ಸಣ್ಣ ಮಕ್ಕಳು ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ನ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಎಂಪ್ಲಾಯೀಸ್ಗಳು ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡುವುದರ ವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಯ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡುವ ಮ್ಯಾನೇಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ನೀವು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಗಮನ ಹರಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಬಹಳ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಊರಿಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ಜನರಿಗೆ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಾವು ಕಲಿತದ್ದು ಸಾರ್ಥಕ ಆಗಬೇಕು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ತರದ ಕಾಂಟ್ರಿಬ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೀವು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಈ ಹಿನ್ನೆಲೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾನು ನಮ್ಮ ಕಾಮರ್ಸ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ನ ಎಲ್ಲ ಅಧ್ಯಾಪಕ ಮಿತ್ರರಿಗೆ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆ ತಿಳಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಈ ತರದ ಲೆಕ್ಚರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಮತ್ತೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ನಡೀಲಿ, ಮತ್ತೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಮನಸ್ಸನ್ನು ಅವರು ಟಚ್ ಮಾಡಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಈ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಟ್ಟ ನಿಮ್ಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಾನು ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿ ನನ್ನ ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ತೇನೆ. ಜೈ ಹಿಂದ್.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. Honor is mine to request Professor Y. Muniraju, sir, to hand over memento to today's resource person, Mr. Sri Krishnan, sir, as a token of love. Thank you, sir. Now, I request Professor Parameshwara, sir, to hand over memento to President of today's program, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor P.L. Dharma, sir, as a token of respect and gratitude. Thank you, sir. I request Mr. Naveen, sir, to hand over memento to Madhava, sir, PRO of Karnataka Bank, as a token of gratitude. Thank you, sir. In ordinary life, we hardly realize that we receive a great deal more than we give, and that is only with gratitude that life becomes rich. Now, I call upon Ms. Anupama to propose vote of thanks.
Before that, my dear friends, I just would like to give this gift to my friend. She has done a wonderful job as a concierge. Come here.
Good afternoon to everyone. Gratitude is the fairest blossom which springs from the soul. I feel honored and privileged to propose a vote of thanks on this special occasion. On behalf of organizing committee, I convey deep regards and hearty thanks to the president of today's program, Professor P.L. Dharma, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mangalore University. Thank you, sir. My sincere thanks to the resource person of today's program, Mr. Sri Krishnan, sir, MD and CEO of Karnataka Bank, Mangalore. Thank you, sir. Special thanks to Professor Preeti Kirti D'Souza, ma'am, the chairperson, Department of Commerce, for your constant support and guidance. Thank you, ma'am. examinations. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank Professor Ishwara P. Sir, Program Coordinator, Dean, Faculty in Department of Commerce and Management. Thank you, sir. I thank Mr. Madhava Sir, PRO of Karnataka Bank, for your presence. Thank you, sir. I extend my heartfelt thanks to research scholars, students, teaching and non-teaching staff, media partners, and each and everyone for making this program successful. Once again, thank you one and all.
Your smile is your logo. Your personality is your business card. How you leave others feeling after an experience with you becomes your trade